Welcome to Scriptural Snapshots, brought to you by Living Faith Ministries in Kaiser, West Virginia, where we bring the living Word of God into your life. I'm Pastor Gordon Brubaker. We're studying this month the land of liberty, and we're looking at this of where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And where the Spirit of the Lord is not, there is not liberty. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Our founding fathers understood this, and they formed our government of the United States of America with a balance of power so that power could not be concentrated in any one particular branch. The three branches would fight, would argue with one another, and they have throughout history. But eventually we come out to a point that is accepted by most people. I have to put it like that today. We've been talking about a Harvard study that says that there is a political congruence between the patriotism and the values associated with the Republican Party. You know, when the Harvard study speaks of values, they are sharing from their own understanding that that patriotism is a value, not a virtue. Now, we're going to get into this, that they're coming, if the values of patriotism only belong to the Republican Party, they're seeing it, and they're saying it, they call it a value, not a virtue. They call it a value. A value is what benefits an individual. What they're saying is the only reason that Republicans, and I'm quoting them, the only reason, not quoting them, but using their language, the only reason Republicans are patriotic is because it is self-serving. There's a personal benefit of what they believe for themselves as individuals, and the heck with the community, the heck with the nation. They're mocking patriotism. They're mocking this thing. Well, the reality is, I believe that patriotism is a virtue, not a value. It's not patriotism. True patriotism doesn't always benefit the individual. It costs you, some people, their lives. They lay down their life for liberty. They lay down their fortune. They lay down their sacred honor. They lay down these things. Why? Because they believe that freedom is a virtue worth fighting for. And I'll just jump ahead a little bit, but freedom is a virtue, not a value. Therefore, virtue must be taught. Where values, we all have values, but we don't have virtue. I believe patriotism, well, I'll quote John 15:13 first. This is from Jesus Christ. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends. He says this is the great love that we have for others, that we would die for them. See, I believe patriotism is loving your neighbor and loving your country in such a way that you are willing to give of your life for the benefit of others. That's what patriotism is. And when you mock patriotism, you're mocking the idea of someone sacrificing themselves for a belief to set others free. Now see, the Civil War is fought over slavery. The South said, we want to keep slaves. That's a value. We want to own men. We want to own people. We want to dominate their lives. This is a value, not a virtue. This is a value. The North, on the other hand, generally speaking, they said, we don't believe in slavery. We believe in the concept in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the North believed that part because it's a virtue. They were taught in the Scriptures all men are created equal. The way the South preached was that slavery was confirmed by the Bible and slavery was acceptable by God. But they didn't practice even biblical slavery. Biblical slavery said, because it was in the time, God did not condone it, but in the way that we often say he did. But biblical slavery, you had to treat them as a human being. You couldn't molest them. They had certain rights. They had values that you couldn't do. You had to give them days off. You had to recompense them if they went over, if they did more work than they were required. There was protection for the slavery. In the South, there was no protection. You could kill your slave. Why? He was property. No longer a human being. He was property, pure and simple. So the South fought the war with their values. The North fought with virtue. They were willing to give up their lives and fight for the freedom of slaves that they never met, that they never knew. This is a difference between the war of the states. I believe a large part of it is they had an incorrect gospel preached in the South, and it produced slavery. And we need to be careful today in the church that we don't preach an incorrect doctrine that enables us to force our will on other people. That is not patriotism. That is not the love of your neighbor or of your country. I'm Pastor Gordon Brubaker. God bless you.